asked me to talk about the Green Bay Working Group. This is a conglomeration of folks that work around Green Bay that we've been getting together for the last 4 years to just talk about things. We found that a lot of us didn't know what was going on just down the bay. This is what Green Bay looks like this time of year, mostly ice covered. So we've been meeting. We've had a meeting in January for the last 4 years. It's like I said, an aggregation of a number of folks, both from management agencies, the federal government, Sea Grant, a number of universities that do work on Green Bay, a number of local conservation districts, the Soil and Water Conservation District, a number of other folks that work within Green Bay, even the Sewerage District. They do a lot of work within the lower Green Bay. So it's been great. A lot of us have gotten exposed to different data that we didn't know existed, come to find things that match up with things that we've seen in our independent data sets. So it's been a great effort. This just shows that we do a lot of work in Green Bay, spread out over the different agencies. This is a map from 2010 to 2016 of places that we sampled for various different reasons. This is gill netting, trawling, whether it's perch trawling, whitefish trawling, trawling for hydroacoustics. Also a fairly limited number of hydroacoustic runs across Green Bay, which we're trying to increase to get a better idea of prey fish and whitefish abundances. Invertebrate monitoring, mostly by some of the university types. Commercial catch sampling, water quality. So we're doing a lot of things in a lot of different parts of the bay. There are some bare spots somewhat in the middle of the bay where not many people get to, but we're hoping to close up some of those gaps too. As you can see, a lot of it's clustered in places where we have a lot of attention. Southern Green Bay, there's a lot of things going on. There's a large walleye population. Bays de Noc, and I know I didn't probably get all of Troy's dots out there, but there's a lot of effort going on in the Bays de Noc area too. In addition to all the standard stuff we do, I just want to kind of highlight some of the things that people brought up. I cherry-picked slides from our last meeting this January to show you what's going on. We've got a multi-year acoustic telemetry study going on. This is targeting lake whitefish originally, but as an opportunity, we also put in, the group also put in tags and walleyes and muskies. There's also a group that's been working on increasing northern pike recruitment on the west shore, connecting marshlands and that kind of thing, and they've had a lot of success. And there's some interest in trying to get tags into northern pike. We just have to talk over the particulars about swamping receivers and that kind of thing, and how many fish are too many fish for receivers. Kind of coordinated lake whitefish tagging study that's alongside the acoustic tag study. The predator prey model that's been proposed and is moving forward. It was a Wisconsin DNR initiative that's been picked up as a grad student at UW-Stevens Point. Developing fish community survey that we're trying to put together, a number of invertebrate projects, and just monitoring Cisco occurrences in the bay. So I'll step through each of these with a slide or two and kind of get you out of here before lunch. First one is the spawning site contribution and movement of lake whitefish in Green Bay. This has got a giant author collaborator string, and a lot of this is based on the fact that Green Bay, if people don't know, is a giant whitefish factory. I just got numbers from Scott Hansen, who's the Wisconsin DNR biologist, and just for Wisconsin alone, there was 605,000 pounds of commercial harvest last year and 240,000 pounds of recreational harvest. Just has an amazing ice fishery for whitefish in Green Bay, and it just seems to get bigger and bigger. But the questions they're looking to answer are a lot of it's spawning stock, spawning place knowledge. We don't know much. These whitefish have started spawning in rivers again in the last decade, rivers that they hadn't been seen for in 100 years after logging and that kind of thing. So we're trying to get an idea of who's going where, are they going there consistently. We also are getting genetic samples, so we can look at some rDNA or RNA sequencing to figure out how many stocks are we talking about, are we managing them with the right perspective. This is just a close-up of them putting in the transceiver, the piece of metal. But anyway, they've got this really interesting thing using it's called a TENS unit. There's two little pads on each side of the fish, and they're actually just the things that you put on your back for lower back pain that gives little shocks, and it works fantastic apparently. They don't have to anesthetize the fish, they lay it in, it stops moving, they take it out, they put it back in the water, and away it goes. They've had really good success with this. I know Chris Vandergoot developed this on Lake Erie, but just in case anybody out there is doing telemetry and surgeries. This is just an overall map of, I think there's close to 100 receivers right now. Like I said, they're mostly focused on looking at spawning locations in the river, so there's a lot of directional arrays in each of these rivers, figuring out if they're going up or down. We also have curtains across what we kind of separate the North from the South Bay at Chambers Island. Curtains across the entrance to the main lake and in each of bays to knock, along with some receivers in Sturgeon Bay to catch fish that are trying to sneak out this way or head down the shore after coming out of Green Bay. But this should give us a lot of really interesting information on these whitefish. There's been a pretty high decline in the number of fish that are on the lakeside, but the bay has picked up. Dennis Hickey can attest to the fact that the lake fish aren't doing as great as they used to do. And so finding out where these fish are going, how much they move, and how much they spread out is very useful. In addition to that, there's a commercial loop tagging study going on working with Wisconsin DNR and the commercial fishers. These are a new kind of tag that they put through. It's got fairly good tag retention. So in addition to all the acoustic tags that have an identifying tag like this, a reward tag, there's a bunch, I think, thousands of these just loop tags trying to figure out movement. So in the harvest, where they show up in the spawning reefs, where they show up the rest of the year to get some good movement data. So the objectives of this study, I'll just kind of gloss over these. Determine the stock-specific migration. It expands on the acoustic tag. The stock-specific annual use of fall spawning. We dictate, how many can be harvested based on what we think that stock is doing, and if that stock has a different little world, then we need to adjust to that. Evaluate mortality and exploitation for both the recreational and the commercial fisheries, and estimate non-reporting rates for tags and estimate tag loss. One of the great things about this was that this was a joint effort between DNR and the commercial fishers in the area. They saw the utility in this, and they offered up time on their boats, staff, purchased the tags. So this is a collaboration that doesn't happen that often. We always have a lot of within interagency cooperation, but not nearly as much with the commercial side. So kind of focused on the Fox and Menominee rivers, which is the southern part of the bay, and then halfway up at the Wisconsin-Michigan border, and then Big Bay Zanuck, and then NMB is North Moonlight Bay. This is a lake stock on the outside of Door County. Targets were, like I said, in thousands of fish. They didn't quite get there just because of conditions and that kind of thing, but hoping to continue that with this two-year effort. This is just a map to show you the fruits of the labors for both of these projects. The red dots are the acoustic tags that were inserted, and the yellow stars are the loop tags that we put in. So as you can see, there's fairly high numbers for a number of locations, and hopefully this will produce a lot of great data over the next couple of years. Like I said, there's a bunch of piggyback studies on this. This one's looking at muskie habitat. They put in acoustic and radio receivers into, their goal was for 30 fish each year to look at, so that they can go out during spawning time and figure out where these fish are hanging out for spawning, and then go back after that, look for egg deposition, then go back and look for larval production, because natural reproduction in the bay is not great. Looking to try and optimize that and map the habitat that they're using, see if we can improve it. But muskies are doing great in Green Bay. The ones that are stocked, 38 to 53 inches. There's fish up to 56 inches easily in Green Bay. Every fall there's 50 plus pound green bait muskies not coming out of Green Bay, but being caught in Green Bay. Another piggyback study is Green Bay walleyes, looking at mostly spawning locations in the southern part of the bay. But there's a component to this up in Big Bay Zanuck. They just had a little harder time getting more walleyes. They're looking to supplement that this spring and look at spawning locations, movement, different habitat utilization. As you can see, they got a lot of fish in the southern part of the bay, a number of different stocks of walleyes. This is Menominee right here in the kind of that area there. Like I said, not so much in North Moonlight or the Bays Zanuck, but they're working on fixing that. We're also looking at trying to put together a Green Bay community fish survey. We at the Fish and Wildlife Service have been kind of piloting this, and it's targeting the species of interest to everybody in the bay: lake whitefish, yellow perch, walleye, lake sturgeon. But we found we're getting a lot of information on just about anything. You throw a gill net down in the middle of summer and you catch everything that's in the bay. We're looking to expand this to not only gill netting hydroacoustics, but also trawling. But I'll just kind of show you some of the results of our limited gill netting. We set 2 sets in fairly shallow, parallel to shore to catch diurnal movement, overnight sets, and then some perpendicular nets, perpendicular shore out and deeper. What I'm going to kind of highlight here is this lime kiln set, which is a little bit further down the bay. There's more productivity further south you go. So the next couple plots are just showing what we ran into. We found out we can catch a lot of what we're looking for: walleyes, yellow perch, lake whitefish. We even got a few sturgeon, which we don't run into very often. This is just by mesh size, showing that we fish 1.5 to 6 inch. We get a variety. You catch whitefish in 2.5 to 4, which is why commercial fishers fish sizes like that. A good variety for yellow perch and walleyes across the gamut. This is just kind of a little different portrayal with fish size on the bottom and the mesh size that they were caught in on the y-axis. Shows you how many fish we caught at each of the 3 sites, but the black dots are the lime kiln road. And as you can see, this is for walleye. We caught a lot of walleye, and we caught them anywhere from down around 9 to 10 inches, which is pretty much a yearling walleye in Green Bay, all the way up to 10, 12 pounds. So we get every age class. This would go a long ways into populating data for a catch at age model, which has been talked about in Green Bay for quite a while. This is just an overall. I know Mike Hansen probably is puking in his mouth a little bit, but this is a pie chart that he doesn't like. But to give you an idea of what we caught a lot of, my crew will tell you we caught a lot of white perch. It's a problem. There's a lot of them. They're forage. They're just very hard to pick out of a gill net. We also got a lot of walleye, a lot of lake whitefish, and a lot of yellow perch. And a lot of good data came out of this sampling. But like I said, we have to pick a lot of non-desirables too. So that was the reason we keep track of stuff by mesh, to figure out if there's meshes that we can drop and lose 50% of the white perch. That'll save us quite a bit of time without losing other fish. This is our new boat, just in case nobody's seen it yet, but the new Fish and Wildlife Service vessel, Stanford Smith, will be out on the water this spring, summer. Hoping to do some of this bay-wide sampling and do a lot of other things around the lake. Just touch on a few things that mostly we don't hear a whole lot about, but there's some folks down at UW-Milwaukee doing a lot of invertebrate work on Green Bay. The basics of this was Hexagenia disappeared from the bay during the 50s, and they were gone, and they provide a valuable food source. And one of the big efforts, and sorry this map jumped off, but that just says that it's work done by Milwaukee, is they stocked 488 million Hexagenia eggs in southern Green Bay in 2014 to 2016. And just in 2016, they recorded the first emergence since 1950 in the lower bay, and they had emergence at all 4 of these sites. So we're thinking this could be a good thing. Well, it's got to be a good thing, but the fishermen might not like it because they'll start gorging on Hexagenia at some point, but it's another productivity for the bay. Talking to Troy, I didn't realize this. I have to tell the people at Milwaukee, but they've been having hatches in northern Green Bay for the last 20 years. So why they haven't made it to the southern part of the bay on their own, it's a good question. Also, like I mentioned, we're kind of continuing to look for ciscos in the bay. This is just an effort that we do. We do look in all our sampling, but we don't catch a whole lot of them. The commercial folks do run into them. We get fin clips from them, take pictures of the fish, send the fin clips to Wendy. She tells us whether we're any good at identifying ciscos at different sizes. If the small ones, it's a 50-50 chance. It might be a bloater, that kind of thing. And then we sent a lot on for morphometric analysis over to Randy Eschenroder and Andrew Muir and all the folks that are doing measurements over there. And when Randy's come back to say that there's a lot of things about the Green Bay fish that are just different. So a lot of them look like a cisco head on a whitefish, and I'll show you some pictures, and that's what they look like. Their morphometrics they don't match up with any of the other aggregations of fish around the lake. So it doesn't seem like they're consistently coming from one place. They're kind of just mutts of unknown distinctions. So this is just kind of pictures of a few that I pulled out with the distinctions. This one to me looks a lot like a whitefish body with a cisco head. You see, different shapes from different lakes, different areas around the lake in Charlevoix, Ludington, Aubonway. But these are the ones that we've harvested around the Green Bay area. With that, I have 30 seconds left. But any questions, any suggestions? If there's people we should reach out to, if they're doing work on Green Bay, we know most of them, but at the same time, we welcome anybody to come give a talk or be involved, and we'll continue to report on this kind of thing and go from there. Thanks.